What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Childish. We are back at it again with yet another episode of Educate and Dominate, that one-on-one interview series where we take some of the top names in the game and get their insights so we can bring your game to the next level. My next guest is what I would have to call old school, one of the big-time old school players on the App Invasion forums, one of the 6 or 7 people that I used to follow way back in the day that helped me progress in my game and helped a lot of people over there on the App Invasion forums. We got ourselves Kazuto from the Shadovar Guild. How we doing, sir?
I'm pretty good, Childish. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I got the ancient, the one and only. It's crazy to have you on board. I ain't gonna lie, I'm real excited, as I always say. But like I said, if anybody's old school like myself from the App Invasion forums, you would put out some kind of a 3D crafting thread and have everybody comment. But the one thing that everybody knew what to do, they knew how to tag, right? And so they would tag like 6 or 7 people to make sure that they see the thread so they could provide their insight. And so it was always cool getting everybody's insight on it. As always, Kazuto was one of those we try to tag. So yeah, I'm very excited to get on board. And again, guys, as you guys know, we're going to be talking about focusing a lot on Guild Wars this week. And as you know, Shadovar is a top 2, top 3 guild on the global server. It's been doing it big for quite some time. But before we get into Shadovar, why don't we go ahead and get an introduction from Kazuto? Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into the video gaming world, and what led you into Summoners World?
Um, well, before Summoner's War, the only video game I'd ever played was Pokemon. And that was only because I was very competitive in the Pokemon trading card game. And so I kind of had to play the video game just by token of that. So Summoner's War was quite strange for me to start playing because I've never downloaded a mobile game or anything. What happened was I was just one summer, one June, I was hanging out in my room. I didn't know what to do, so I ended up looking on my looking on new and hot games or whatever. And Summoner's War, it looked kind of like Pokemon. So yeah, I decided to try it out, and I pull a win Chimera at like level 20, and the
Easy
rest is
game.
history.
Easy game. Nice. That's where like half of our guests was like, yeah, this game's no big deal. I got like a Camilla like level 12. It's awesome. It's all good.
Well, Win Chimera, he's not like a great end game. I don't even think I have all like full rune set on him right now. Um, but he definitely was awesome early game for me. Like he carried me the whole way. Him and Ramagos were my all stars.
Who didn't use Ramagos, right? I mean, that's
Yeah,
crazy. It's crazy. It's good stuff.
and I
So
had like the Win Chimera leader skill, 50% extra HP for Ramagos, so it was just like awesome.
yeah, buddy. So what when you got into the game of whatnot, how did everything work out? Kind of talk a little bit about just getting into App Invasion, but then how did you end up finding the guild of Shadovar? How did that all work out?
Well, with App Invasion, I just kind of like Googled Summoners War forum. The game was very new at the time, but there was one guy. His name was Chimera, who he had spent a little bit, and he was much further ahead than all of us. Um, and so he was kind of giving out tips and stuff. So I liked that. I got more into the forum, and I became more active on it. Um, and yeah, but I was using App Invasion for a long time. And then as for Shadovar, I got into Shadovar a few weeks after Guild Wars started. I have another guild, the guild that I started way back in like the summer that I first started in, and I love that guild, but I just wanted to try out being in a top guild for a while, so I joined Shadovar. Just I was just in channel 103, and then Run Fosta, the then leader of Shadovar, was there, and he just recruited me. Um, and yeah, since then I've kind of been switching between my old guild and Shadovar, but currently I'm in Shadovar full time.
Good deal. And who are the leaders and vice leaders over there?
Currently, we have Carol as leader, and then we have Terraflux and Kingor as vice leaders.
Cool. Sounds good. Let me see here. So, as far as the guild goes, you're recruiting and whatnot. I mean, are you guys recruiting right now, or is it just pretty much holding it down?
Yeah, I mean, any like Guardian rank player who is interested in joining a top guild, we have we do casual wars. We only war twice every day. We don't save for Saturday, and we always finish like top 10 or top 5 or whatever. Um, and yeah, we're always open to new applications, or if like you're a little bit lower level, I think Shadovar 2 is recruiting as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, we actually found Shadovar 2 a couple times when we were coming up, like early on in the midweek. If somebody was to want to get a hold of you guys, as far as joining your guild later on in the future, what is going to be the best way to get a hold of you guys?
Message Carol online. I think her username is Carolicity. It says if you search up Shadovar in like the guild search thing, it'll say like message Carolicity online or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So as you guys, I don't know if you caught it a little bit early on. Kazuto is one of the unique people that are coming onto the board to the Educate and Dominate series. Probably one of the first, if not the first. Actually, let me take that back. We did have Pug West. One of the first people that we have on board that are coming up in the top ranks of Guardian 2 ranks, holding Guardian 2 well, but rocking it as a free-to-play player. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, some of the tips that you can kind of provide for the viewers, for your viewers that are coming up in the ranks, trying to progress from, as far as arena goes, from fighter to conquer, conquer to guardian, and even so much, guardian tip. Sorry, tips as far as in the guild wars, how you progress and whatnot. As a free to play player, what are some of the big things that you've kind of learned along the way that you would definitely want to recommend to others as far as focusing on?
Um, the big thing that really put me ahead was experimenting with different stuff. So I'll use Darien as an example. When I started using Darien, he was not. No one used Darien in global. Like he was. I remember I had Darien in my defense, and I would go in channels, and people are like, "Why do you have a vagabond in your defense? Like,
Yeah.
are you some kind of like noob or something? Like, I could easily destroy your defense." And I was like conquer at the time, and then they were like, I don't know, like fighter or something, and I was like, well, maybe if you get up here, you can try it out, but
Got him.
um, yeah, I remember I finished Conquer Free with a 5-star Darien and a 5-star Almond in my defense. My team was like Tyron, Lagmaron, Darien, Almond, and Almond and Darien were 5-star. Just because no one was used to Darien at the time, and no one knew like how he worked or anything. Um, and the way I got the idea for Darien was I used to go over to the Korean server, and I would look at the top players, and I would see what kind of monsters they're building. And I remember seeing one guy, he had a light vagabond at like 5-star or something, and I read the skills, and I was like, oh, this could be cool. It could like prevent my squishy Lagmaron from dying. Um, and so I built it. I didn't realize at the time how powerful defense break was, but I learned that later. And yeah, then and I ended it. It ended up working out very well for me, and that held me conquer like the Darien based defense held me conquer until I got Chloe, which sent me into Guardian.
Sweet.
Uh, and I mean, like my first Guardian team was just Chloe Michelle. Chloe Michelle combo was really strong. Um, Chloe Michelle Darien Almond, and that team held me Guardian 1 for the first time.
It's crazy, like something so simple like that. Like with, I mean, I haven't. I remember back in the day when people did actually use Amon, up in there, and you would have never thought that. a combination like that would have worked, way back when. Of course, they've come up with so many new units now that, counting others or whatnot. But it's so cool to see some of the simple units still be such a top a top quality unit out there for us. So very cool.
Exactly. And more on the experimenting side, the thing that got me into Guardian 2 for the first time was Ashir. And now you might be thinking, like, Ashir, everyone knows Ashir is awesome and stuff, but when he first got buffed, no one knew how good Ashir was. And I happened to have one in storage because I thought he had potential. And so as soon as they buffed him, I decided to take him out, give him a try. And I was he and that first week I put him in defense. He wasn't even max skilled or anything, and I finished Guardian 2 for the first time.
It's crazy.
And then my first time finishing Guardian 3 was with Vigor, right after Vigor was buffed, the Water Werewolf, and then I would also try to Jubel to finish Guardian 3, Draco, before Draco was popular. What else? I've tried out a bunch of different things to finish Guardian 3. So yeah, it's just like kind of all about experimenting with different stuff. As a free-to-play player, you don't have all the big 5-stars that pay-to-win players have to finish, that like Perna, Camilla, like Praha, Zeros, to make like a one defense like Baryons that can hold Guardian free for months.
Right.
So you have to kind of just keep people on their toes, kind of, and keep experimenting with different stuff, or get really lucky and get a really good 5-star.
Gotcha. What was your, like, out of all the units that you tested out? What was the one? You said the one. I think it was Jubel that you said got you 3. What was the end game arena defense for you that actually got you to the Guardian 3 there?
With Jubel, for a long time I had Chloe, Ashir, Darian, Core, and then I would sub out like Jubel, Vigor, Chasun, and Baramos in that last slot. And then later I would switch Darian for Jubel completely. And then now I've switched Jubel for Theomars.
Gotcha. So generally, was it Chloe was like the main healer, then you had Ashir as the backup healer, then the 2 damage healers. Well, Ashir
Yeah.
being a damager as well, but yeah, then 2 big units here.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Let me see here. So taking a look at the units, you got quite a handful of one. We just talked about Ashir. One of the ones that have definitely been getting a lot of talk or whatnot is Trevor. Just a crazy unit. Very, quote unquote, very OP or whatnot. Obviously, it depends on how you build it or whatnot. But I was going to ask you, have you done a little bit of testing with regards to different rune sets? Has Violent Revenge just been the big way to go, or do you feel that some people out there are preaching Vampire Revenge, because it has the ability to kind of self-sustain, but considering how you utilize it, whether it's Arena or Guild Wars, what do you think is the best way to go with them and why?
Currently, I'm using my Trevor for Arena Defense and Guild War Defense. And so I think that Violent is a must-have if you use a monster in defense, like if you use a DPS monster in defense. So I definitely have to do Violent. Someone suggested Nemesis to me, and it's interesting, but I like Revenge just because, like, if your Trevor gets a Revenge proc in defense on turn 1, that's just like a free attack buff,
Yeah.
and that's so strong when it comes in with the second skill, because with an attack buff, even at full HP, he's hitting for like 30-40k.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like I heard the Nemesis talk about that. I'm like, how could you even think about going on the Nemesis route? The attack bar buff on the first attack is way too strong not to go. It's like not using a Revenge on a death breaking unit. It's too strong.
Yeah, and it's even like if he's like getting low on HP and they're just like, okay, I'll just hit him with my Veramos to finish him off, and they hit him with Veramos and he survives with a little bit of HP because of Brawler's Will, and then he gets a Revenge and hits for like 20k without defense break or anything.
pretty crazy. And I know this one gets way over talked, but we got to throw it out there because it's definitely one that gets talked about quite a bit. Theo, I believe you're like myself that goes with attack, crit damage attack, but you got some people that value speed, crit damage attack. Could you kind of think of scenarios where a speed-based Theo would be better than like an attack, crit damage attack based Theo, or do you think it just comes down to the runes and the substats you get?
Basically, you would do speed if you don't use Chloe, and you would do attack if you use Chloe. That's the basic. Right. For a long time I used Will on my CMRs, but recently I've been using I've just yesterday actually I switched into a resistance build. So I have um, I have 70 something% resistance, um, and I don't know how much I like it right now, but yeah. I've lost a lot of crit damage because of that. But yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Overall, doing pretty good though.
Yeah, I guess so. I know I was testing my defense with a guy last night. He had a Zeros, and he said, "Oh yeah, I just reset all your guys and then hit CO first." And I was like, "Oh man, I ruined my CO for extra resistance and my Eladriel too."
Right, right, right. It's crazy. Let me see here. So, kind of moving on. I'm trying to look at all the other units. I don't see anything else as far as rune wise that kind of sticks out. Is there anything else that you kind of wanted to mention as far as things that people don't kind of overlook and you want to kind of give a little shout out to as far as units go?
If you look at Kali,
All right.
um, Kali is on Vampire right now, and that's actually a suggestion from Kurobi. And I use Vampire because I'm using Kali in my Dragon's B10 team,
Oh, okay.
um, and instead of Vertiheal, and it speeds up the run quite a bit. And with the Vampire, and you see I have a lot of HP subs. Um, she can actually survive almost every time, and if she dies, then I still usually win. And she does quite good damage with her second skill on the boss because the boss has very high defense.
Gotcha. So if somebody doesn't have a vertihill, is it something they can kind of incorporate, or do you feel that it has to be utilized with a vertihill to make it work?
No, I don't use Vertiheal on my team.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
My team is actually quite obtainable. It's Theomars, Bella, Veramos, Kali, and Spectra.
And do you remember more or less what time you're running for that team?
I'm actually running it right now. It's about it's about 1:30 to 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's pretty good because I know my team is a mixture of units, and I'm still running like 2.5, 3 minutes. So the fact that I could essentially, level up 6-star a couple of units and play around with it, that's pretty cool. So make note of that, guys. For some of you guys that are looking to improve your game, or maybe you made a Kali when a Kali got a big jump in the mix and then took a break, because no one was really using it anymore and playing around with other units. You do have another way of making it work. Definitely something that I didn't point out. Nice find there. Nice find. Let me see here. So let's kind of get into Guild Wars. As we stated before, you guys are one of the top guilds on Global. Been doing so for quite some time. You get a lot of feedback from the community that has as one of the most successful defenses when it comes to just overall, setup and whatnot. So what we wanted to go ahead and do is showcase again some of the units or some of the teams that you guys have been utilizing over here. We got about 5 or so people. Let me see. All right, here we go. So the first one of which we'll probably try to get on board, in the future, Kurobi, another one of the people with Kazuto that's rocking that free-to-play status, but still doing it big in the Guardian 2 rank. So tell us a little bit about Kurobi setup and why is it so successful?
All right. Well, Kurobi's first team, I think, is its most successful, and I think that's because you would really underrate it. You look at it and you think, okay, there's no defense break, there's no immunity. This should be easy, but Leo completely changes the game, and I think Leo is one of the best 5 stars right now. Actually, he limits everyone's speed. So you're a super fast Theomars that you got up to 200 speed and you're so happy with, yeah, that's only 100 speed. He's going to be doing like 5k max. And then his Vertiheal is very tanky compared to most Vertiheals. And that would also catch a lot of people by surprise, just because he doesn't have to rune Vertiheal for speed.
Right.
And then with Chasun is a great healer, but she also provides the attack buff for both Vertiheal and Leo, so that they both hit quite decently. And if your opponent hits Leo and misses the kill, Leo just goes and ignores defense for one-shot kill, and then Chasun heals him right back up.
Gotcha. And so is he rocking like a violence set on that, or is he playing around with vampire on him?
He has violence.
Yep.
I believe it's attack, crit damage, HP now.
Cool. Yeah, nice little hybrid setup. I think Dragonets are definitely one of the few units out there that you can get away with a hybrid and still do real good. So I like it. And then of course we got the standard YOLO team, which we'll get into a couple of those here after we're done showcasing the teams here. Definitely a great team if you got the runes to back it up.
Oh yeah, the Galleon Theomars Bernard team. I would do that if I had a Galleon. Galleon is just so good, but yeah, that team, if you have your speeds right, it can totally destroy an opponent.
And so let's get into that, since we do have some new people that are coming into the game checking out this series. You stated on this particular second team, if you got the speeds right, this team could really do some damage. So why don't you go ahead and get a little bit more in depth of that? What do you mean by the speeds right as far as the syncing goes or whatnot?
Well, in a team like this, you want Bernard to be as fast as possible because you want it to outspeed as many monsters as you can. And then but then if your Bernard goes and then your Theomars and Galleon are at like 130 speed, they're not going to move right after. They're too slow. And your opponent's going to get a turn and their Chloe's going to shield, you're going to hit into a shield. And you don't want that. So you want your Theomars and your Galleon to be at least 70%. I think there's a thread on Reddit that says 76% to guarantee. So 76% of Bernard's speed. So if your Bernard is like 250, I think you want like 190 or something on Galleon and Theo. I forget the exact number, but yeah.
Cool. And with regards to this type of setup, you've had people go back and forth as far as how to rune Galleon when used in a YOLO type team like this. Are we going with like a support kind of setup, or are we going like full blown damage here, you think?
I can check what Robe does, but personally I would do damage in most cases, just because I would also use Galleon for Dragon's V10 probably, right. And that would speed up the run.
Right. Yeah, and I was gonna say too. I think it just adds more. Like I said, more kill potential. The goal is obviously to try to cripple the opponent so that he has a harder time, for the rest of the fights too. So I like it definitely. It's funny. I did a little rage summoning today. I saved up. I have like 2,500 summoning stones that I wanted to wait for Vertihill, but I was hoping to maybe get lucky with Vertihill so I can try to see if I can get Galleon in the exclusives. And while I want him, I know how much Vertihill will help not just my Guild Wars with my Dragon's V10 and my arena defense. I'm actually trying to play around with some speed stuff now. So I'm like, oh nope, I can't do it. I gotta wait. I gotta wait till those summoning stones come up for. I think it's like a week now. They got the Vertihill going on there. So all right. Let's see. Moving on to the next team. Oh, there we go. We got Terraflux, my man. All right.
Yeah, I think he's done this before, right?
Yeah, he showcased this one. Now, I don't remember if this one was the same, but I would have to imagine that it probably is, considering the style of his unit. So
yeah, Terraflux, his runes are just really strong. Like his first team, I think, is like one of the best Galleon CO Bernard's teams probably. And then his second team is also quite good, and it shows an example of teams that I usually do with Chloe and then two kind of nukers. And yeah, I think it's I also like his third team or his second team because it has wind, water, fire core, and to me that's very strong because especially in Guild Wars when you go in, you only have room for one nuker. and if you have to make if you're going against wind, water, fire, you can't use like a fire type because then you're not going to be able to kill Camilla, and Camilla's going to be hitting your nuker. You can't use a wind type because it'll take forever to kill Chloe. But so you kind of have to use like a neutral attacker, which like Theomars, for example. But those are very valuable because you want to use Theomars for every team. So
Right.
forcing them to use Theomars for your second team means that your first team is more likely to win.
Gotcha. And with regards to guild wars and teams that are utilizing Chloe's, in the background, obviously we understand why he's using these particular teams. But we made a comment early on about like Theo or whatnot, utilizing him with, Chloe, and if he's with the Chloe, he's probably going to be a slower, like attack crit damage attack Theo, or if he's not with Chloe, he probably might be a faster one if he's trying to provide the defense break before the rest of your team goes. My question to you is, can we make the assumption when we see Chloe's in combination with a couple other units on the team that they're going to relatively be a little bit slower? Then they're not going to be really. They're not going to try to be crazy stupid high with speed or whatnot. They're going to be a little slower to allow the other team to go before these units go.
Yeah, normally with a Chloe, you'd want to have kind of slower monsters. Generally, you still want some speed because if your monsters are too slow, then they just don't do anything. Like for example, with my arena defense, I use Chloe, and then I have my Trevor, who is 131 speed, and then Theomars, who is 137 speed. So they're not like 100 speed. I have some speed in them, but I don't like use speed on slot 2, for example.
Gotcha. Cool. Yep. Good runes with good speed subsets, right? All right. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Carolicious, the guild leader of Shadovar, doing it big.
Yes. And Carol is she has really nice monsters, and she doesn't do arena, so she's always ranked quite low. So she's always going to be over to the right as kind of like a trap. So people will see her and like conquer 2, and they'll think, oh, her runes probably aren't very good, and then they just get wrecked by her very strong team.
Hashtag get wrecked. Yeah. Yeah. The Orion combination is pretty darn strong.
And what she does is she has both teams you would really want to use Chloe against because they both have a lot of threat potential. And Chloe is very strong because in Guild Wars it's all over very quickly, and so Chloe's shield is usually enough to kill one thing, and when one thing's down, you've usually already won in Guild Wars. So like if you use Chloe against the first team, yeah, you'll win, but then you don't have Chloe for the second team, and then there's a very good chance that you'll lose to against the Theomars Kumar combo.
Right. It makes a very, very strong point, guys. So when you're coming up with these teams and trying to figure out, what's the best way to go, don't just think about what is going to make the best comps for you, but think about what the user is going to bring to counter, right? When we think about setting up teams, it's not just, like I said, it's not just about what you do, it's about what they're going to do to counter you. There's always a team, every team can be beatable, right? And so one of the things you could do is force people to basically gamble with the option of utilizing their best unit for this side or the best unit for that side. If you can force them to split up their core 3 units for a core team or whatnot, that's pretty darn strong. So I definitely like this setup here. Moving back to, I'm trying to think of, was it yours or was it Kurobi's or Terraflux with regards to, I guess with this second team, this will kind of put you again in that kind of same situation. I mean, with a speedy team, right? You're gonna want to have some kind of prevention, like a Chloe, like immunity to make sure that the death break doesn't come on. But then you have, super strong units here too, and obviously, depending on what their speed is, what your team is like, you're still gonna need some kind of buff removal or whatnot. So, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, with a team like Terraflux's, I would probably have to do something like I would have to use my Chloe for the first team, because otherwise I'll just get overwhelmed. My Chloe isn't the fastest; she's on violent. But I would use like my Sheer, who's on will, and then my Joltan, who's very tanky and will return a lot of damage to the guys attacking him. In order to survive the first turn, get a shield on, kill the Theomars, and then after that I win. And then for the second team, I would have to use like I don't have Chloe, so I kind of have to just kind of play on the weaknesses. Have like kind of like a water tank to attract the wind monkey, and then a fire tank to attract Camilla, and then just hope that my last monster is enough to be able to kill them all.
Gotcha. And then just for the other Guardian 1, 2, and 3 guilds that are up there, at least for the Guardian 1 and 2 that are kind of progressed, when they see a team like this and they're saying, okay, let me use a Chloe to kind of prevent that first wave or whatnot, obviously with the speed leader Bernard being one of the most fastest units out there with the fastest base speed, what is your recommendation as far as the speed to shoot for on a Chloe that would be good enough to probably get that first fanatic in? Because I'm assuming that um, you might be bringing in some kind of a speed lead to kind of help buff Chloe here, but when you try to combine something just for that first turn buff, you're losing out on a little bit of kill potential too. So what's your thoughts on the speed on Chloe? If you can't get a certain amount of speed, what do you think?
Um, it depends on the rest of your team. If you're planning on just like using squishy monsters and relying on Chloe, you'll need. I mean, I've seen Bernards go up to like 271, 272 speed. Um, so to be safe, you need that much speed. Obviously, if the lower rank you are, the less speed you need. I would say like a safe amount in general would be 150, 160 would be a good speed on Chloe.
Gotcha.
Um, and then of course, if they have a Galleon lead, you'll need a leader skill of your own, speed lead of your own, um, in order to match their Bernard. If you're doing like a tanky team though, with will runes on your guys, then you can afford to have less speed on your Chloe. Like mine, like I said, is 229 on Violent Will, and that's enough to beat any speed team in Arena, any speed team in Guild Wars. Just because the rest of my team, I don't rely on. I don't just rely on getting the shield in before their guys go. I can survive the first turn, then get a shield.
Right.
And if you don't have good will runes on all your guys, you can use a Michelle as well. That's what I did for a long time. I had a Michelle who was just faster than all my nukers, so I would go So they would go like Tyrant Freeze, Lucian Amp, and then I would go Chloe Shield, Michelle Block Flow, and then no matter what guys I had, they would be able to kill Lucian, kill Tyrant in 2 turns, and then it's just like Vertiheal and Bernard or whatever.
Gotcha. Very strong. And so the big thing to point out there, guys, again, if you don't have the opportunity to have the super fast Chloes, definitely take advantage of the will runes. I've heard quite a bit of positive and negative as far as bringing a team that's based off of will runes where you have 2 or 3 units that are will runes. It's the results speak for themselves. There's a lot of top players out there that have certain AO, GWO teams that are built off of a couple of certain units having the will runes and getting the job done, especially if you can't outspeed it. That's really one of the only ways to get around it. So, yeah, buddy, let me see here. What's the next team? Oh, hey, that's funny. I don't know what his actual name is, but I fought him quite a few times in the arena, and I've seen him in a few videos out there. So,
Yeah, Chris. So Chris doesn't have Chloe. He doesn't have Chesoon. His only Nat 5 is a Wind Oracle, which until recently was really bad. So he's kind of an example of playing and doing well with what you have. So he uses Draco a lot, I think, and Orion. Um, his second team is a really strong team actually, because it goes like Orion and Theomars, and then Kona is ruined to go right after Theomars, so then Kona resurges Theomars, and then Theomars hits again with an attack buff. So that's like almost like for sure whatever Orion wants to kill, that's one dead unit.
right, right, very strong. Definitely a nice combination if you guys haven't done it. And the coolest thing about it is, I mean, with the exception of Orion, these 2 units are definitely attainable. A lot of people have kind of gotten away from way back when, kind of gotten away from using Kona, and I still think Kona is still valuable in the game today, not just for Dragons V10, but definitely for the offense.
Oh, definitely. A lot of
But
people in Shadovar use Kona.
yeah,
Yeah, I've been meaning to build one for a long time now. I haven't yet, but yeah, he's really good actually with the
yeah,
attack buff and resurge.
yeah, very strong for Guild Wars for sure. And one thing I kind of wanted to point out, we're seeing a lot of werewolves out there, especially now with the recent change of whatnot. Typically speaking, a lot of these units are going HP across the board, but considering that they have such a high base speed, would you ever consider, if you couldn't go, I mean, you could definitely play around with like a violence set. That would probably be the best way to go. But could one find value in a high speed, some kind of a high speed team with a combination of like a 200, we're talking like 200 speed, Vigors, or 200 speed, Jultons. I've seen some people with some interesting rune builds, and I haven't
Mm-hmm.
seen too many people utilize high speed werewolves when I think there could be some value into it. What do you think about that?
I've tried doing high speed on a shear, um, but I feel like he just suffers too much in damage. Like right now, he's doing about 30k ish per with massacre, and when I ruined him for to get him up to like 200 speed on violent, it was like his damage was reduced to like I don't know, uh, like 24k max.
Gotcha.
Um, and it's just like not enough to kill what I as much as I want him to kill. Um, so I switched him back to his HP build because I rely on Chloe too. I have seen Joltan be used effectively with high speed in a team. I think it was like Vanessa, Joltan, Veramos, and maybe it was Juno or something like that. But everything was very fast. Obviously, with the Vanessa lead, it was even faster. I think his whole team outsped my Chloe, and then yeah, it was I managed to win, but it was a lot closer than it should have been.
Right.
Just based like when I just saw his team, I was like, oh, this will be an easy like 30-second fight, but it took much longer than that, and it was much harder than it should have been.
Yeah, I know a lot of people give a little criticism for utilizing Jultans on like arena defense, but if you got that right team up there synced up, I mean, he can definitely be the perfect unit for you. So pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. Joltan is a really good monster for arena offense as well against speed teams.
Yep, yep, definitely. Next up, we got Nofo. Nofo is funny. I just put out a video for you guys, and I definitely underestimated this team trying to bring a Bruiser Yellow. Don't ask me what I was doing on that video, guys, but it was pretty embarrassing to say the least. So it'll be cool to talk about this one there. I love both teams. So what do you think about
Yeah, so I haven't looked at Nofo's defense log, but I was just looking at his defense. And I said, wow, this team looks really interesting. His second team is like Kurobis, but with a Dark Lizard instead of the Vertiheel. And Dark Lizard, like I don't know. I have one too from Guardian Rewards a while ago, and I thought it had no potential, so I just threw it in storage. But maybe I was wrong. Maybe it's pretty good. I might want to try it out. But yeah, um, I'll have to watch your video against it too.
it? Yeah, the procs are real when it comes to those first and second skills that he had. It's pretty darn cool. Oh my
And then
goodness.
his first team, again, it's kind of hard to play against because there are lots of different elements and stuff. And uh, Bellijewel is always really strong because of the free turn immunity and cleanse. And then Ritesh is anti Theomars. Both his teams are anti Theomars actually, um, which is really good in this metagame.
Gotcha. So let's see here. I think that one is actually, yeah, that one's our last one. So we'll go ahead and kind of wrap that up. But with regards to Guild Wars, not just the defense here, but the offense, there's a lot of things that can go on. Both good and bad in the fight. And sometimes we find out that when we lose certain units, we have to think about different teams that we have to incorporate to get the job done. And some of those teams are based around YOLO kind of setups. Really just going for quick damage, knocking out a unit and taking them out quick. So I was wondering if you wanted to go ahead and talk about maybe some of your top favorite YOLO teams and why you feel they are so strong in the game today, in the meta today.
Okay, well, my A team for Guild Wars would probably be a lot of people would consider it YOLO. Theomars, Ashir, Eladriel. Um, so just two nukers and a reviver. And this team has not lost for me once. And the reason it's so strong is you can kill them. You can kill whatever you want turn one. I have Ashir on Will. Seo used to be on Will too. Now he's high resistance. So I can just go hit whoever I want with Seo with the defense break. Follow up with a shear. Even the Theomars will die to a shear. And then if they like proc a lot and kill my shear or my Theomars, Eladriel is just there to revive them. So it works out really well every time I've tried it. It's worked out.
And you said that was Theomars, Ashir, and Eladriel?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's also a really strong arena team too, with like whatever you want as a force, like Trevor, Chloe, or Bella. The next, my usual setup would be that team as my first team against their strongest team, and then against, and then I normally use Trevor, and Chloe or Chesoon and Jubel or Jiltan as my next one, and my basic strategy is to try and get Trevor low on HP and then solo their team. Because Trevor is just really good and he's a lot of fun to use. But if Trevor dies or something, because it is quite risky, because I don't always heal him up because I like him to do more damage. So if Trevor dies, then I can sub him out with Kali, and Kali is one of the most underrated Guild War monsters, I think. Any team without water, you can Kali, because if they have like Veramos and Bella, you can use Kali, Jubel, Bella, or something like that, and their dark and light monsters will only go for your dark and light monsters,
Right.
while your Kali is free to one shot their whole team.
Gotcha.
And with the recent buff, Kali is also becomes very supportive of her team with the third skill, and she also protects herself more. So Kali is actually one of my main monsters I use in arena as well, just because like your Chloe shields and then Kali shields, and so she still has invincibility. And so they can't do anything to her still. And then she follows up with the nuke next turn and kills whatever she wants.
Very cool. Now I know that some of these teams that you kind of mentioned definitely have like a healer or kind of reviver kind of component. Is there any teams that you actually like just go like just go crazy with no healers and whatnot and just rip it up?
Um, I've tried out. Normally in Guild Wars I don't, because I like to play it safe.
Gotcha.
Bernard though, I tried out some Bernard comps for a while. He's not ruined right now. I took a rune off him for Theomars,
Hmm.
but stuff like I would use Bernard, Verta heal, and then Theomars for Guild Wars, and then I would add a shear for arena, and that works out most times. My Bernard was a little slow. It had I think 157 speed.
Hmm.
But yeah, it worked out a lot.
And one of the things that I see quite common too, I mean, we always see the like Galleon, Bernard, Theo kind of combo. I see a lot the Tyron, Veramos, Vertihill combo. Two forms of AOE CC, and then you got the attack gauge booster. Do you find that pretty valuable, or do you still feel that you got to try to incorporate some kind of defensive break within the team to make it, reliable or consistent?
Um, I think that defense break is probably the most is the easiest way to get a win. There are ways around it, but without a defense break in your team, it's very susceptible to just someone just bringing free tanks against you and winning.
Gotcha.
Like if I see Vertiheel, Veramos, and Tyron, I can just bring like Eladriel, Chessoon, and Jubel or something like that, and I can pretty much just auto it.
Gotcha. Yeah, on the defensive side, it could definitely be rough to utilize. So, let me see. Let me see. I think that was pretty much it. Did you have any other top teams that you wanted to kind of mention?
Um. Oh. Yeah, I was playing around the other day with my friends, and it was an arena, but it translates into Guild Wars 2, and we were forcing ourselves to only use completely farmable monsters.
Gotcha.
So like I couldn't even use Michelle because she's not farmable, even though she's a free star.
Right.
Um, so his team was like Theomars, Vanessa Theomars, um, Chloe Orion, and I had to find ways to beat that with just free to play monsters, just completely farmable monsters. So I ended up using like Bernard, Jubel, Bella, and Vigor, and that actually worked. It worked quite well. It was slow, but it worked. So in for Guild Wars, you could translate that to something like uh, Bella, Vigor, and Jubel or Bernard, and that could also be a good team.
Cool.
It just had like everything had defense break, and everything was quite fast. So it and it, I just managed to yeah heal my way through his stuff and win like that.
Very cool. All right. And so, with regards to all these units that you've been talking about, test around, there's always a couple of units out there that are kind of sleepers or kind of underrated and overlooked when it comes to Guild Wars. A lot of people haven't had the opportunity to test them out or whatnot, or they just don't know about it. Do you have any units that you would consider extremely underrated and overlooked, and why?
Collie right now. She has gone through times when she's been very she's been hyped a lot, but right now like no one's talking about her at all. And I think that she's still very strong in the metagame, even with Theomars, because they can only use Theomars on one team.
Right.
Um, she can be used, like I said, she can be used against anything without water, and she'll win. You just have to have Collie, a wind tank, and some kind of healer, and if your wind tank happens to be Chassoon, then you can even do like Vertiheel or another nuker with her.
Gotcha. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. All right. Let me see here. A lot of the things that have gone on with Guild Wars since the inception a few months back, there's been a lot of people that have kind of put in their or chimed in their 2 cents as far as what they feel is good about it and not. If there was one thing that you would want to change about Guild Wars, what would it be and why?
Um, I do like where Guild Wars is right now, but I think that it's annoying how limited your attacks are because they're like every week. It always just comes down to who gets the best matchups, in terms of who wins. Uh, like Malicious won this week because they got Shoguns with their last attack, for example. Um, and so like I think and or like there was one week we didn't get hit at all on Saturday, and this week we got hit like uh, 4 or 5 times on Saturday. Um, and I think I wish there was some way like extra attacks or something just so that to lessen that RNG in terms of who gets who. Maybe just like increase like the max storage to 8 or something.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, that's That would be very nice. I mean, I wish they would give like a couple of more options in like the guild shop, something that you could do to purchase or whatnot. Not just for like extending that, but just a couple more options. There, I think that'd be kind of good too as
Yeah,
well.
that would be cool too. I mean, the buildings are nice, but they're like super overpriced.
Yeah, yeah. Right now,
Uh,
that's huge.
so I don't even buy them usually. I bought like the first two upgrades for HP and crit damage, and now I'm just buying scrolls because I want Orion and Galleon.
Yeah, gotta get them. Gotta get them. All right. Let me see here. So, as you guys know, as everybody's been following my channel for quite some time, the name of my guild and community is the Epic Fail Community, but we embrace our failures. So, everybody that we bring on board, we got to get them to share us their biggest epic fail in the game. What was yours?
Um, well, for if you had asked me this maybe a few weeks ago, I would have said vigor. Um, but I've actually found a way of using vigor in Tower of Ascension hard.
Oh
Um,
wow.
because he has a heal, which kind of like Bella, he has defense break, and he also has speed buff like Bernard, which is really nice, and it's what's been missing from my TOA hard team for a while. Um, is the speed buff. So I no longer think Vigor is that bad. I don't think he's. A lot of people compare him to a Sheer, but he is not like a Sheer. He's a worse a Sheer, but he's he's useful for different things because the Sheer doesn't have defense break, which comes in handy when you only have so many monsters to use.
Sure, sure. And it's three turns, not two like typical
Yeah,
units. So you can get away with, people like you got some units that you hit, and all of a sudden they violent proc and they knock themselves out of the 2 turn defense break or whatever. Where something like a 3 turn might be able to keep your bond long enough for you to get another turn and get them out.
exactly. I think my biggest epic fail would be happened recently. I summoned a Chow.
Oh man, I see you're hiding it. You're hiding it
Yeah,
over
so
here.
I uh I bought a water scroll from the guild shop, hoping for an Orion or a Galleon, and out comes a Chow. And this is my first 5-star in about 15 months of playing because I hadn't pulled one since Win Chimera in June. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. I just laughed and sent pictures online and stuff, and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, you pulled a Chow." And then I just threw it right in storage immediately,
Is it?
and I try to forget about it, but certain people in Shadovar don't let me.
Isn't that crazy that when you get to a certain level in the game, there's so many great units, but there's some units that no matter how cool of a Nat 5 they look at this that whatever they're not going to be available. You're not going to be able to utilize it. They're just not going to synergize right with your team. If we talk 9 months ago, everyone was like, Chow, oh my
Yeah,
God, Chow's the greatest. And then Chow, you summon Chow right now, you got people like cussing, you know,
yeah, I know.
like I saw.
He just has no use right now in endgame arena. Or like endgame anything. He's like he could be used in Dragon's B10. But I have a team that clears in 132 minutes, and that's faster than anything I could do with Chow. He could be used to farm Feynman Hell, but I mean, there are so many units that can do that. You don't need to level a 5-star up just for that. There are so many water DPS monsters, Sigmaris, Theomars, that he doesn't have a purpose there either. And so he doesn't have a use right now. So that was kind of that was a big disappointment. But then, like a week later, I got a Ladriel, so
Yeah, yeah, can't get mad. You did get a great unit there.
yeah.
As far as the let's see here. As far as the shout outs you want to dish out, any shout outs you want to give to your friends, guilds, anything like that?
Well, yeah, Kurobi. I think he would be great to see. And another friend of mine. His name is Danny. I think he's in the Ink Guild.
Oh, okay.
Um, and I Siri craft him with him a lot more than anyone else, and he's also a Guardian free player usually. He's the one I was using like the free to play teams with, and yeah, he could be cool to get on too.
Right on. We're gonna have to have like our own free to play section of people just to get on board and get their insights. So, Very, very cool, man. I do appreciate you taking the time to come out here and get this all in, and we'll definitely have this out as soon as we can, so we can get this insight to the people. Anything else you wanted to add for the community, or anything, any other tips or anything that we might have missed along the way to go ahead and dish out real quick?
Um, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I don't know if I really got the message across. But make sure you get an account on at least Asia and Korea servers, because they help. Their metagame is a little bit further along than global, and it really helps to see what their top players are doing. Same as well as looking on the global server or European server, whatever you are. But yeah, that that helped me a lot when I first started. Like I said, with Darien, I got the idea from a Korean server.
Gotcha. And do you remember off the top of your head, like, when you're looking at the list of things you got to switch it, you got, it shows, global, Asia, Europe, whatnot. Then you got, three of the languages down there that they
Oh,
really don't that you obviously don't, like don't know. Do you remember which one it was, or
Korea was the long one.
the long one? There you go. I
that's
like
that's
it.
how I recognize it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. And again, we're gonna have to get some people. I know that there's a lot of people out there looking to improve the Dragons B10 team. So if you want to do one more quick mention on that team, running at about a minute and a half to 2 minutes there, what was that team?
Theomars, Bella, Kali, Spectra, Veramos. You can swap out Theomars and Veramos leader. But yeah, the team works quite well. Spectra or Kali can die sometimes in the Zeros stage, but the other four can still make it through and win.
Gotcha. And it looks like for the Spectre using filler runes, do you have a recommendation? I mean, some you see some people going crazy high, 200 some odd speed. You see some people actually utilizing violent. You see some
Yeah,
people going speed on too, or just trying to
with
get more survivability with the hit
with
points.
my speed, I've actually made it so that I don't want my Spectre to be that fast because I want my Bella to be faster. Um, this is because I want my Bella to get a defense break in before my Spectre does his big attack.
Gotcha.
Um, and yeah, because my first teams, my Spectre was much faster than my Bella, and I would always open up with Spectre using his second skill. I don't know what it's called, the one that does a lot of damage, and it would only be for like 10k or whatever. Whereas now with Bella will defense break turn one, and then he'll follow up with his second skill for 26 or 27k, which is much stronger.
Yeah, definitely. Cool.
So I would ideally I would make mine violent, but I think the stats are more important. You want a lot of crit rate, a lot of crit damage, enough speed. You need HP, and of course you need accuracy as well. So Spectre is very hard to rune, but that's why I don't have them on violent, because I just don't have the violent runes right now. But yeah,
Yeah, right on. All right, my man. Well, I appreciate it for thanking you again. Thank you for taking the time to give us that insight. The knowledge is second to none. We appreciate it as always.
thank you for having me.
Anytime. All right, guys. We'll go ahead and cut it off right there. Thank you all for tuning in. It's your boy Childish and Kazuto with Childish Plays checking out. Take care. We will see you next time. We're out.